Let me turn my sound down. So I wanted to do these broadcasts without thinking too heavily about them, without preparing them really. Just the idea of what quote it was that I was going to use. It is money, wisdom, and coffee is the theme. So I've got my coffee here, and basically, so if I've drunk all the coffee and I'm still yabbering on at you, then I'll know to stop. Basically, is the idea. So I'd been thinking about doing this first one of these and what quote it was I was going to use, and I had in mind this quote from George Bataille that had been in my mind quite a lot recently, with a lot of world events like obviously in the US and the idea of objectification really. And I'll give you the quote now. I mean, I'm not. This isn't the quote I'm going to talk about, and I'll tell you why. Um, but I'll give you the quote anyway, if I can find it in here. I think it's at the start of this chapter here. No, it's not. It's the start of this chapter. One second. Right, so it's the quote I was going to give you, which I'll do another time now, which is, "No one can make a thing of the second self that is the slave, without at the same time estranging himself from his own intimate being, without giving himself the limit of a thing." I'm starting talking about it now, so I won't talk about that. But how that ties into money and all that was going to be my theme. But I was thinking about it too much, so I'll come back to that another time. I just went out for a walk this morning, and for some reason this thing popped into my head. I think it may have been to do with the fact I was looking on Facebook earlier and talking about Alan Moore. But this is the quote that when it came to me, I thought, yeah, this is the one I've got to start these money. This is the key quote to start all this money wisdom stuff with. So it's from this book, which is called sorry, wrong way up. There you go. The Economy of Literature by Mark Shell, who's an amazing thinker and writer. I think probably one of the greatest living thinkers on money, in my opinion. His work is just magnificent. If you're an economist and you've never read Mark Shell, well, you know what you've got to do. So here we go. This is the opening sentence of his book. Now, this is his main work. He's got lots of work, but I would say that this is the one. So whenever you see Mark Shell quoted in any of these books on money, it's quite often this book you see quoted. I think he wrote it I think it's 1978 or something. I guess he would have been in his mid-30s or something. Yeah, 1978. He would have been in his mid-30s when he wrote this. And obviously, I like to imagine that he was like kind of this was going to be his big work and it was going to make his name. And this was the opening sentence he came up with in the introduction. "Those discourses are ideological that argue or assume that matter is ontologically prior to thought." That's his opening gambit. I mean, I don't think you could say anything more profound about money than that. Obviously, I was thinking about that when I was walking back just now, and it struck me there was two things that came to mind about that. Firstly, that it says that it kind of provides a framework for the sort of magical thinking that I use in my work around money. The idea of magical thinking is really only something, a term I've applied after John Higgs. It's John Higgs' fault as always. After John Higgs' book about the KLF burning and his use of this term magical thinking. But it seems to fit around an awful lot of the way I think about the world and have thought about the world for a long time. So what this says is that that if thought precedes matter, then the rules of thought may have more relevance to our reality and our sense of being than the rules of science. It was one way to think about it, I suppose. What was the second thing? The first thing then is about how it provides a framework within which you can explore magical thinking. Let me tell you, I'm getting lost in my own thought here. But another reason why I wanted to use this quote was because I was at I did my little talk at the Finance Society event. 8 minutes, okay, so I'll hurry up. Sorry, I gave my little talk at the Finance Society event the other day, and when we went for drinks afterwards, I met this young guy there who told me that he was really interested in money and theology, which I was really, really pleased to hear, because a lot of people who study money don't deal with theology, which has got some amazing stuff to say about money. Mark C. Taylor is the guy who read, but it's Philip Goodchild as well. There's a couple of other books which I wasn't quite so impressed with. Names the authors escape me now. But theology's been considered in these sort of metaphysical matters for an awful long time. So they have a lot of interesting stuff to say about it. And he was telling me that this was kind of the area of study that he was really interested in. And I was telling him about Mark C. Taylor, and I also was, as I always do, I say, like I started this out with, that you should really get into Mark Shell. And I managed to remember, even though I'd had a pint and a half, I eventually managed to remember that quote off pat. I'll read it again because it's worth hearing twice. Those discourses are ideological that argue or assume that matter is ontologically prior to thought. And I've just thought of the second point there. When I first read that, I was like, and I got the sense that when I managed to get the quote out to him, he was like as well. It's like such a mind-expanding thing. I've lost it again now. What I was going to say to you, those discourses. Oh yeah. So the second thing is that it's important that you notice that word ideological. What he's also saying here is that if you're a believer in scientific methodology, and if your rules about how you are in the world come from our understanding of how atoms move and quantum mechanics and all this sort of stuff, what he's saying is that is an ideology. That people think about it as the truth of how we are, but it isn't the truth. It's an ideology, because it depends on this fundamental presumption that matter is ontologically prior to thought. And if thought is ontologically prior to matter, which I suppose is another sense of saying, you could say it is, does God exist? If it's that way around, then it changes it can change how we are in the world and how we think about the world. So that's why I think that if you're going to write a book about money, starting with that sentence basically is just the absolute fucking bollocks for me. I can't think of any better way to start a book about money. So anyway, let me have another sip of coffee, and I think I'm about done here. I don't want to harp on too long. It's probably not been a brilliant first money wisdom, but cheers anyway. The quote is fine. So what I'll do is I'll stick this video up, and I'll put the quote up as well, and I'll find wherever it is I put it in the money wisdom quotes as well, and I'll put all that up. So thanks very much for your time. I hope you've enjoyed it. Cheers.